Hey guys, welcome back to the Embrace Nerd Show. This is where we talk about a lot of different topics dealing with the news for the entertainment that you love. If it's movies, shows, video games, or comic books, we break down the kind of the basics of the really truly nerdy stuff that we all know and love. And so this is going to be a really good show. I'm really trying to figure out what time, if it's going to be, the nighttime this show comes out, if it's going to be the daytime. So this is going to be a version where we're going to put it out at night. Hey, so feature me here. Scratch the night. This will not be a show at night. This will be a show in the mornings, and it will be a consistent show in the mornings, Monday through Friday. There may be some things we change, pull in and out, but this will be a show Monday through Friday in the mornings at a certain time. I haven't decided what time that is. Most likely it's going to be 6 a.m. my time, Central Time. So it will be 7 a.m. Eastern, or what would that be, 5 a.m. PT. So anyway, just expect to see it in the mornings. No matter what, this will be a morning show. Thanks, bye. And really give it a chance and see what it does and see how it does and see if it's something that you guys receive and enjoy. But without further ado, let's talk about some movie news real quick. And first off, I know there's a trailer that came out today, but there's something more important we got to talk about. There's something more important we got to hit on, which is Mobile Suit Gundam. Mobile Suit Gundam is going to get a live action film. What? Mobile Suit Gundam? I remember being a kid at my parents' friend's house that would take care of us after school sometimes, and I would basically get shipped off into a room by myself with a TV, and I would sit on the bed, and from the bed I would watch Toonami as a young kid. And there was a bunch of different shows that would come on. There was Dragon Ball Z, there was Sailor Moon, there was, Big One, the guy that has the big mega robot. And then there was Mobile Suit Gundam. And Mobile Suit Gundam was something that meant a lot to me as a kid, and I didn't really stay as invested in it in the future, but I've always wanted to go back because Mobile Suit Gundam, there's all the different shows, and some of them are goofier than others, but the original Mobile Suit Gundam that I remember had really serious premises and had a really good storytelling, and I've always wanted to go back and rewatch the anime that I watched as a young kid. Well, it seems like we're going to be getting a new movie. And it's going to be production by Bandai Namco and Legendary. And they're signing an agreement to co-finance it. And it says here, while the film was announced in 2018, it's barely been heard of since. But this word from Legendary and newly formed Bandai Namco Filmworks America indicates fans can finally start looking forward to seeing the first ever live-action Gundam film on the big screen. Now, I do remember it was announced, and I could have sworn it was something about Netflix. And you would wonder, okay, is this going to get a theatrical release? And it says the company confirmed Mobile Suit Gundam, which currently lacks an official name, will be written and directed by Sweet Tooth's Kim Mickle and released in theaters globally. So it is going to get a theater release, which I think is very important. Something I think Netflix should start doing, but we really need some of these movies to hit theaters. It will be the first live-action punt for a franchise which has been seen 25 anime series, 34 animated films, 27 original anime productions, and more, plus an incredibly popular toy line that combined pull in more than $900 million a year. You know, when I want to get my first, I had a Gundam toy a long time ago, but if I ever get a new one, I want it to be when I finally visit Japan. One day, me and my wife will go to Japan, and I want to get a Gundam there. That's where I want to get my first Gundam. You see them at the Comic-Cons, the ones I help out with. You see them all the time. And I always want to get one, but I take a step back because of money, and there's other things I always want. But if I go to Japan, I am buying me a Gundam. I am. But it's cool news that we're actually getting some traction. The last time I heard about this, and it doesn't seem that they point this out, the last time I heard about a Gundam movie was through Netflix. So I don't know if that means they worked out some of their deal, but with Legendary, it seems like they were originally going to go the Netflix route, and it seems like now they've actually decided to go with Legendary. So I don't know if Netflix will jump in on this to help co-finance it, but it seems not. So it seems that Legendary is going to co-finance it, and it means safe to say we're going to be getting a theatrical release, which I think is really, really good. We need these movies like this to hit theaters, and actually, if this does really well, maybe this will inspire more anime franchises in the future. But let's just hope that they really tell a good story and they stick the landing, because that's really what we need. We really need them to stick the landing. Okay, now to the next story. Now on to the next story. Well, as we know with Marvel, there's reasons why I have kind of just got back into really enjoying Marvel again. And some of it's the choices that they did as filmmakers and as storytellers, and failings that they had. And one of those failings was how they handled Kang the Conqueror. That was a big thing for me. I thought that they really screwed how they handled Kang the Conqueror, and Jonathan Majors didn't do anything to really help the situation either, with the controversies and all the things that happened with him. You know, proven innocent or proven guilty. It was a little mixed situation with his court proceedings. It was a little bit of mix of both, it seemed. That he was found guilty of some things and then found innocent of other things. But it seems that maybe, and this is really high rumor territory, but there's a possibility that Marvel's Kevin Feige is considering bringing him back to the MCU. And so the question is should they? Should they do that? And, you know, the biggest way that they failed Kang is they ignored the last part of his name, which is the Conqueror. He didn't conquer anything. He didn't do anything. And I feel like Loki Season 2 kind of wrapped this story up, and some of the other things. I know the What If had kind of supposedly wrapped up a lot of this stuff. So you probably could let it just die and let it go. But they really messed up this whole multiverse saga, to be honest. And it should have been building up to something. And there's a lot of ideas that I have how they could have done that. But the first thing you do is make sure that the King the Conqueror actually conquers things. And maybe instead of him getting defeated by a bunch of ants, maybe he should have been the one to, you know, conquer at the end of that movie. Maybe he should have been the one to succeed in some kind of way at the end of Ant-Man. But instead they didn't do that. And they really, you know, screwed the pooch when it comes to this character. And, you know, they've already made so many changes. I don't know how much this could work. But maybe, you know, for the actor and for us not to be so quick when it comes to canceling people and getting rid of people, maybe it's time to maybe give him a moment. And it sounds like what's going to be happening is they're probably going to give him the opportunity to be a jobber, which I don't know if, you know, y'all have ever heard that term. I think it's a wrestling term. But basically, he's only there for a specific purpose, and he has a job to do, and usually a jobber is there to get beat up by the hero, to get beat up by the person or the protagonist that they want you to, or antagonist, to show how powerful that person is. And I kind of feel like if he does come back, he's only going to be seen as a jobber to someone like Doctor Doom. And you're basically going to see, you know, Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom just probably destroy him in an instant or something to show how powerful the new Doctor Doom's going to be. But that's not how King the Conqueror should go, you know? You know, maybe dethrone him, but he didn't conquer anything to dethrone anyway, which is why that's such a messy thing. But anyway, that's just personally how I feel about it. I don't know if it's a good idea or not. It's going to come down to the storytelling. But I guess it wouldn't make any sense if he's such a big part of the multiverse saga. It won't really make much sense just to, you know, let it go away that easy. So anyway, let me know in the comments down below what you think about that. Okay. The next thing I really want to talk about, and it's something I'm really excited about, something I'm really, 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 really excited about, is we got to talk about Jimmy Neutron, okay? Now, I'm in my early 30s, okay? But back in the day, 20-something, crazy enough, it's been about 24 years ago, there was a movie called Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. And that's like one of those movies where I can clearly remember everything that happened in the movie theater and in that movie. It was one of those childhood impressionable moments that I really, really, really loved. And I even loved the Jimmy Neutron show afterwards. That was a show that I would always look after, and we would just binge watch on Nickelodeon. While I had TV as a young kid, we didn't always have TV, but when I was a young kid, there was a certain time in my life where we had TV. We had like Dish, and we would watch, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, all those shows, and we would watch Jimmy Neutron. And I binged that show so much. I loved it so much. And supposedly, they're saying that we may get a sequel. And this is coming from comicbook.com, and it says Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius just might be coming back with a new sequel movie, according to an update behind the supposed writer being behind the new project. Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius was a massive success for Disney and Paramount Pictures when it had first released in theaters back in 2001. The feature film was such a hit that it later inspired a full CG animated TV series released shortly after, The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, which ended up being one of the most successful Nicktoons in the network's history, but could all be coming back for more soon. Now, I don't want to get too crazy into this, but from my understanding, it was a guy's LinkedIn profile, and he posted this thing on LinkedIn that this was something that he was working on. So, I think that this would be great. And I think it would be perfect timing because if this movie came out when I was a kid, right? Well, I'm 31 now. So even if it's not Jimmy Neutron, maybe it's Jimmy Neutron when he's older and now it's dealing with a whole new set of kids. I think this is perfect because now you understand that this IP, was for kids when I was a kid. Now I'm an adult. There's a lot of people my age that have kids. This might be the time to bring back Jimmy Neutron. This might be the perfect time to bring back Jimmy Neutron because not only are you going to get some of the younger audience that may have saw this when they were watching Nickelodeon or whatever, but you're going to have the audience who have kids. And I don't have kids yet, but I do have nieces and nephews, and I will be trying to take them to this movie for sure if this actually does come out. So I think it's a great idea. It was just something in my heart of hearts that I wanted to talk about. And what about you guys? Were y'all Nickelodeon fans? Were you Cartoon Network fans? Did you like both? Did you grow up having those things to watch? Did you like Jimmy Neutron? And are you excited for a Jimmy Neutron sequel? Or is it just a little too late? Let me know in the comments down below. All right, guys. The next question and the next thing I kind of want to bring up now is the Jurassic World Rebirth trailer. Now, if you want to, we're not going to watch the trailer here. If you want to, there is a video I have posted on this account where I did that very same thing. I actually watched the trailer, but I'm very curious to see what y'all's thoughts on it are. I'm excited about it, but it gave me a bigger question. And the bigger question to me is, what is the biggest trailer for these July blockbusters? I think a lot of the things in this Jurassic World movie are really interesting, but did it pull the lever like Fantastic Four or like Superman has? And I would say this. Now, my Superman trailer was the first thing I posted coming back on the channel, but it blew up, guys. Like, Thank you, by the way. If you're watching this now and you're one of the people that subscribed from watching my Superman trailer, thank you. But that sucker blew up. Now, I did get a copyright claim, and funny enough, I really do think that copyright claims help, you know? I do think that helped. But I will say this, even with, and I'm about to check out my views on my video right now, even with that trailer being out, and I got a copyright claim on the Jurassic World, and I did not get one on Fantastic Four. But even with that copyright claim, which really kind of puts in the algorithm, ironically, it doesn't really seem like no one's interested in watching it. And maybe there wasn't nothing big enough that happened to make people want to watch it. But the fervor is not as strong as something like Superman or probably something like Fantastic Four. Now, my Fantastic Four didn't get copyrighted, but I had multiple people watch it as soon as the trailer came out. So people did watch my reaction to Fantastic Four pretty quickly, when they found it. So I don't know if that says anything, but I think it's still going to be a really good movie. But I guess the question is will this be kind of like a pyramid where, this movie was great when you watch in July, which makes you want to go see Fantastic Four, and then Fantastic Four was great, and this makes you want to see Jurassic World Rebirth? Or is it going to be one of those things where, wow, I had a great experience watching this movie, now the next movie, I had a good experience there, but now I think I'm done. Now I think I'm done. I'm actually not even sure. I know it's coming out in July. I'm not sure when Jurassic World Rebirth is coming out, but I think, personally for me, my favorite trailer, and this is just, it's almost not a competition for me because it's the one I was most excited about, is Superman. Superman is the thing that I am most excited about, that I think it's going to be a phenomenal movie, personally. I personally think it's going to be a phenomenal movie. So it's almost unfair for me to even say for myself, but I am curious about you guys. Out of all these trailers for these July blockbuster movies, just talking about the blockbuster movies in July, which one of these are you most excited to see? I think the premise in Jurassic World's interesting. I think, having it as a operation to try to, like a scientific operation, over it being the theme park element, I think is really interesting. I think that is probably, if you're going to do this, is the next step to do for another Jurassic World movie. But I guess maybe it's not in my core DNA as much as Superman or Fantastic Four is. So anyway, I'd be curious to know your thoughts there. Which leads into probably the last thing. Well, not necessarily. There's two other things I want to bring up about movies real quick. But I just have a question. When we're watching the Fantastic Four trailer, right? And there's plenty of things that we could bring up with the Fantastic Four trailer. There's a lot we could talk about, try to break down. But for me personally, my question is who is John Malkovich playing? And if you didn't see, in the trailer, this fella pops up right before Galactus does. And a lot of people have been saying he's going to be playing Red Ghost. Now, maybe he is. But I am still kind of wondering myself. And there's a lot of different theories people have thrown out. They've thrown out Franklin Richards. They've thrown out Franklin Storm. They've thrown out, the father of Reed Richards. It's, a lot of different things, a lot of different ideas. But I am kind of curious for you guys. This was kind of just a quick thing, but who do you think he's playing? And what do you think his role is going to be? I'll definitely be really curious to hear your thoughts down below with what you think. Okay, on to the next thing. And this is something I thought about showing the clips for, but I think all of us, if we're being honest, if you're on social media, we've all seen this. And it deals with the Captain America clips that have been coming out. And this is just going to be a quick thing, but guys, I'm kind of concerned. I am kind of concerned about Captain America: The Brave New World. I don't know why they are dropping these clips. I'm not sure why they're dropping these clips, but none of them have been very good. None of them have been very good. And you would think that they would drop clips that would make you really interested in the movie. And I think what they really need to do is just back away, because they've dropped a couple fight scenes, and they dropped a scene with Harrison Ford on Air Force One talking to someone, and they're just not good. They're not good at all. And it does not give me the feel, it does not encourage me that we're back in that classic Captain America era that we used to have. And I don't know. You want this film to be good, because even though we've had a bad track record with Marvel recently, if this film's good, it's going to make Fantastic Four, a lot of people excited for Fantastic Four. Whereas this film is bad, it's going to put Fantastic Four on an uphill battle to try to win over the fans. And so I really hope that it is better than it looks, but I have to admit, it looks rough. It looks rough. And, that's going to be during Valentine's Day. So I take my wife to a bad movie during Valentine's Day, guys, I'm going to be in trouble. I'm going to be in trouble. So this is just me sending out well wishes to the Captain America movie. I really hope it's good. But guys, you're not doing anything to show me that it's going to be. You're doing actually the opposite. And if I was you, either put out a clip that is really, really good, that's going to make people excited, or stop putting out clips. Because I don't think any of the clips are helping. Any of them. So that's just my personal opinion. Now, before we get into the shows, this kind of deals with shows and movies. This deals with shows and movies, guys. And this specifically deals with Disney Plus. Supposedly, Disney Plus subscribers, they lost 700,000. Guys, 700,000 Disney Plus subscribers have left Disney Plus in Q1 of 2025. That is a huge number. Huge number. That hurts. That hurts. And when it really comes down to it, people leave for different reasons. I know they had that huge loss of people. It was like 300,000 something people left. And it really came down to them losing the license for India when it came to playing cricket, I think. It was cricket was the sport. And they had this license deal that they were putting out this on Disney Plus in India. And then they lost that deal. And so all the people in India were like, bounce, see you later, because we're here to watch cricket. We're not here for Mickey Mouse. We're not here for Marvel. We're not here for Star Wars. We were here for cricket. And since you took cricket away, we're leaving. So people leave for all different reasons. But that's a big number. That's a big number. And the question would be is, what is Disney Plus doing to lose that group of people, that audience? And what could they do to get that audience back? And I would say, based off my experience watching Spiderman right now, is probably they need to try to tell better stories. That would be a good thing. But they got an upward battle with Disney Plus. They were going to be the top dog, against Netflix. They came out really swinging at the very beginning. And I feel like all these subscription services have struggled a lot. They're kind of like the same thing with live service games, where, they really want you to continue to pay and pay and pay and pay and pay, but you got to give us something worth coming back to. And so, we'll see what Disney Plus does to change their ways, but I'm very curious to see your opinion on what you think that many people left for. Why did so many people leave? Is it because of political things? Is it, is it for other stuff? Now, they probably gained a lot of people. I'd be kind of curious to see if they lost 700,000, how many people did they gain? I'd be curious to hear things like that. But anyway, guys, do you think they need better leadership? Does Disney just need better leadership as a whole? You had that big almost takeover with Bob Iger, what was it, about a year ago, where, Bob Iger almost lost the CEO position, Or there was about to he didn't almost lose the CEO position, but there was almost a takeover when it came to the people on board, on the board. And maybe there does need to be some changes at Disney, as a whole. And maybe that's one of them. But let me know what you think down below. Now, we got to get into the shows, guys. We got to get into the shows. And the big thing we got to talk about, the thing that I'm really excited to talk about, I have some concerns. I definitely have some concerns, but the thing we got to talk about is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Now, this was a show that my sister got me into when I was younger, and we would watch a couple of these shows. We would watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer, we would watch Angel, and we would watch Charmed. Those were the shows that my sister was really into, and in the mornings, before we go to school, we would sit down and watch those sometimes, an episode or so, because it would be on, I think, like Sci-Fi Channel. It would be on the Sci-Fi Channel, and me and her would watch them, and then she bought the DVDs later on, and so we would binge the show together, and it was a really, really fun show to watch. Well, supposedly, there is a revival series in the works at Hulu, and Sarah Michelle Gellar is coming back, and Chloe Zhao will direct the pilot. She will direct the pilot. And from everything I've heard, it's going to be kind of like, a new Slayer comes into the picture, which I think the whole idea of the Slayer is there can only be one, which we understand why Buffy would still be alive because of what happened, in the show. If you remember, she got brought back to life or whatever. So, I guess Faith was the other vampire slayer. Maybe she has died, so there's going to be a new vampire slayer. I'm not sure. There's a lot of questions because of their age. Will Angel come back? Angel, the guy that played Angel, is not as young as he used to be. But I'm excited, and I think this is something that supposedly Chloe Zhao was a huge fan of. And plus, everybody likes to write the way that Buffy was back in the day anyway. I think Buffy was an important show for a lot of writers because you can just tell, for better or worse, a lot of writers have paid tribute to the way that Joss Whedon used to write and write very similar. Write very, very similar. So supposedly they're bringing all the OG people back besides Joss Whedon. I'm sure he's getting a big paycheck, because I'm sure that's what's happening with him. But they're bringing all these people back, and I think we have cool things ahead. I think we have really cool things ahead for Buffy, and I'm wishing it the best. I'm just kind of curious to see what happens and who they bring back into the show. But what about you guys? What are your thoughts? Did you watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer back in the day? Are you excited to see a reboot? Do you think they should just really reboot it and just have another Buffy and let the star be Buffy? Or do you like the idea that Buffy's older now and she's training a new vampire slayer? Let me know in the comments down below. All right, now to the next topic. And the next topic is just dealing with what we're going to be seeing tonight, which is Invincible. Guys, I'm really excited for Invincible. I really need something that's really, really good animation-wise. And, I think the animation could have been better with Invincible if they would have spent more money on animation than they did some of their voice actors. But that's a whole other thing. That is water under the bridge at this point. But the writing in Invincible has always been really good, and it's something that I am seriously really, 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 really excited about, and it's going to be premiering tonight. Now, I don't know when I'll be dropping my review of the new season of Invincible. I don't know if it's going to come out. It had been coming out kind of early, and so I don't know if it's out right now, but it would come out a little bit earlier than what it usually would. It used to come out 12 o'clock at night. You'd have to wait literally till midnight to watch it. I don't know if that's the case now, but I'm really, really excited for Invincible. I'm so glad Invincible is coming back, and I'm just curious about what your thoughts are with the new season and what you are expecting. Are you expecting to, see a lot of new things? How soon do you think we're going to see the new suit? I don't even know how many episodes are dropping of Invincible tonight, but just let me know what your thoughts are on Invincible and how excited are you to finally have Invincible back. Now on to another show that's been coming out, which is Spiderman. I've been posting my thoughts on it, and if you guys want to check out my full-on thoughts, I will try to put a link down below where you can check out my video where I'm going over the new Spider-Man show. But, you know, the show has been fine. But I think these shows need to be better than fine. And in two different ways. I think after seeing, for example, there was that card game that came out, Marvel Snap, and the teasers to prepare you for the show had animation that was so good, and it was different kinds of animation, but there was animation that was so good that it just made you wish, it's like, why isn't Marvel making animated stuff like this? And I have to admit, even though I've even loved X-Men 97, to find out that X-Men 97 were made by the same people that made Devil May Cry, even with that animation still being really good quality, it still makes you wonder what better quality it could even be if they were willing to let it be. And I don't know, guys. I'm struggling a little bit. I'm going to see this show through, and I'm going to definitely keep on posting my reviews for it. But I've been struggling with a little bit of it. To watch 3 episodes today, and the ads didn't help. I have ads on my Disney Plus, and that didn't help either. But I just want more. I want more, and I think that's okay saying that we want more from that show. That's just me personally, but you know, I'd be curious to know what you think down below. Am I losing my mind? Do you think the animation should be better with Spider-Man? Are you enjoying the Spider-Man show? Or have you not even gave it a second thought? You're not watching it. You don't care. I'd be really interested to hear what you have to say about that. And then lastly, I just want to talk about, you know, what I'm watching right now. And I'm not watching too much crazy stuff right now, but I am watching Daredevil. I'm watching the old series of Daredevil, and I'm trying to catch up, so when the new season comes out, I've watched all of it. And I am completely set up and prepared for whatever they throw at me, and I can remember, oh, this happened in this season, or this happened in that season. And so I'm trying to do that. I need to watch a lot more than what I am right now, but I am trying to watch that. And I'm watching Solo Leveling. Solo Leveling is awesome, guys. If you haven't watched Solo Leveling, it is a Korean, I guess it's a Korean webtoon comic that they have made into an anime series that's on Crunchyroll, and it is phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal, and I definitely encourage you guys to check it out if you haven't. I'm hoping to talk a little bit more about anime in the future, but that's a show that I would definitely recommend you check out. But that's what I'm watching. Guys, what are you watching? Let me know in the comments down below what you are checking out, and maybe something I should be checking out as well. Alright, guys. Let's get into the games. Okay, we got some game news. Nothing too crazy, but I think some of this stuff, one thing actually could be kind of big news, but I kind of want to talk about something dealing with Indiana Jones. Now, I have not gotten to play the Indiana Jones game yet. I haven't spent a lot of money. I could play, what I need to do eventually is I do need to play it for free through, not for free, but through the Xbox Game Pass. You play Xbox games usually, but my PC, I could play it. And so I probably need to do that for like a month or two, just so I could finally play Indiana Jones, because otherwise all I have is a PlayStation. But I thought Harrison Ford made an interesting point just about AI, but he's talking about Troy Baker's performance in Indiana Jones, the video game. And I just thought it was something worth pointing out and having a discussion about. And it says, Harrison Ford says Troy Baker's performance as Indiana Jones in the new video game shows that AI can't replace actors. And he said, "You don't need artificial intelligence to steal my soul. You can already do it for nickels and dimes with good ideas and talent. He did a brilliant job, and it didn't take AI to do it." And guys, every day I struggle with the idea of AI and where the world we're going to. But I think there is a good point here to say that there's always going to be talented people out there who can do a really great job. And if people are willing to work hard and do something creative, we should allow those people to be creatives and do that cool thing. I've even struggled with the idea of shorts. I want to do some YouTube shorts and TikTok and all those things from some of this longer form content I do. And I've really struggled with the idea because I'm like, I could easily put this through an AI software that would clip it for me and make really cool shorts for me. But then it's like, but then my shorts are just like everybody else's. And, I'm still learning skills when it comes to editing and doing videos. And I got a lot to learn. I have a lot to learn. But I think there's something still to be said about doing things ourselves, working hard, and I'm not saying I'll never use AI. I probably will eventually use the AI to do shorts and to do other videos. But I think there's something there to say that when it comes to talent, when it comes to, movie making or video games, the spearheads, the people really making this stuff really need to be human beings. And I think that's where creativity comes from. That's where really good storytelling comes from. That's where chances of people being really original, I think, still comes from that. And I really hope that we stick with that instead of using AI to totally take over the world, okay? That's the whole point. I don't want AI to totally take over the world. I think there's something still special about people with talent doing creative things. So I just thought that was really interesting. Let me know what you thought about Harrison Ford's comments down below. Have you played Indiana Jones? Is it a game worth me playing? I would really prefer to play it third person, but I've heard it's a first person game, and I don't know when a third person mode will ever, or if it does, when it will ever come out. But let me know down below what your thoughts are on that. And so, for the next thing I kind of want to hit on is kind of a bigger story, and I don't have an article for it, but I just want to show this real quick because I think it's pretty interesting, and it comes with the question of, is James Gunn possibly trying to work out a deal with Sony to make sure that we come out with a really cool DC video game? Because as you know, there's only a few companies that work on DC games for, DC properties, which is, we just had the Suicide Squad kill the Justice League, which was not what it should have been. And we've had Gotham Knights, which to me, even though I think it was probably more enjoyable in a lot of ways, it still had a ton of issues and had messaging in there that probably didn't even need to be in the game. And it was subpar. It was subpar from the games that we know and love, like Arkham Knight. But we all know, like, some of the games that are coming out for Marvel, not only do you have your Spider-Man games, not only are you going to be having this new Captain America Black Panther World War II game, you're going to be having a Black Panther game, a third-person Iron Man game. We're going to be having a lot of Marvel games, AAA Marvel games coming out very soon down the line. Very, very, very soon. And DC seems to constantly not be there. And we have to wait years and years and years for any of their games coming out. Well, it seems like maybe James Gunn is working behind the scenes to try to maybe work out some more deals, and maybe it won't be next year, it probably won't be in 2 years, but maybe in 3 years or 4 years, we're going to be seeing some new DC games coming down the pike, and maybe it's through PlayStation. Now, that would make me very happy because I have a PlayStation, but the possibilities there are really, really exciting. And for example, imagine, a PlayStation game that is, a really true, Superman game, like a phenomenal Superman game. Like, how amazing would that be, right? And so I really hope there's something here. I really hope there's something very interesting about this. But what do you think, guys? What are your thoughts on James Gunn following Cotter Swan on, I guess, Instagram? I guess that's where he followed him. He either followed him on Instagram or Threads. But I think there's something interesting here, and I hope there's conversations being had for that. So, now to the next thing. And this deals more like a thank you, but also an announcement. And I just want to say thank you for getting me to 100 subscribers. I think we're at like 108 right now. I'm really, really, really thankful. I feel very blessed to have that. I know some people would just view that as a short, small number. But just the fact that even you subscribe and the fact that, you know, whatever videos that pop your interest, you know, I don't believe that the 10 same people or 15 same people are always watching my videos, or the 20-something people are always watching the videos. You know, I think there's probably a mix of people jumping in and out watching those videos. But those that have stuck around watching and enjoying the content, I just want to say really a thank you. And I was trying to find a way to really show that I was thankful. And the way that I decided to show that I was thankful, there's some other things I would like to do, but one of the things that I want to do is I want to start doing like one game night a week. And for right now, it's not going to be a live stream. But eventually what I want to do is I want to eventually make it a live stream. But for right now, it's going to be an edited version of me playing through Devil May Cry 3. Now, I can be a little bit of a heavy breather. I have a dent in my chest, and I don't know necessarily if people would just want to watch, you know, me just walking around dungeons and spending hours trying to look for things. And so I'm going to record it myself and then edit through the parts that might be a little bit boring, but then stick to things that are a lot of fun and my reactions that have good reactions to me playing it. And so I'm curious to see if y'all are interested in that. But for really Devil May Cry and the Superman trailer, both of those really blew up for me on this channel, and a lot of subscribers subscribed to me through the Devil May Cry. And I just want to show that I haven't forgotten you guys. There's going to be plenty of Superman content on here because that's just my thing that's in my genes and my blood that I really want to talk about. And so there's going to be tons of content for those who have subscribed with me because of DC content. There's going to be plenty of that always. But I really want to show that I'm appreciative of the people that subscribe to me because of Devil May Cry. And I think this is going to be something kind of fun. And it's a way to say thank you for giving me a shot and being a part of this journey that I'm on. So just so you know, I don't know what day, but I will make a post about that. And I am hoping that maybe that'll be something that y'all would be interested in checking out. And I'm sure there'll be something that I may need your help on as I'm playing through the game, because I'm sure I'm going to need some advice on, you know, the best way to fight different bosses and different things like that. So anyway, this is a fun little announcement that I think is a thank you, but also it's just a fun announcement for you guys that for those who would want to check something like that out, that will be on this channel. All right, guys. Now, a little bit of news, something we haven't talked about. I dropped one little video of me reacting to the Switch, and then I haven't really talked about it. I haven't talked about it at all. And this is just something real quick, and it deals with the Nintendo Switch 2 and their Direct, and what time that Direct is going to come out. Because we knew that it was going to come out in April, but we didn't know what time it was going to come out. Well, now we do. So, it's going to come out 6 a.m. Pacific time, and that's going to be 9 a.m. Eastern time, which I would assume is 8 a.m. Central time, which is like my time, and 2 p.m. UK time. They're going to premiere their Nintendo Switch Direct. And I think that's going to have not just exciting things about the hardware and how the hardware works, but I think we're going to get some really good video game reveals during this Direct. And maybe they'll have some cool superhero stuff. They'll definitely have Mario Kart 9 there. I think it's a given. And I think they're going to have some really cool reveals when it comes to the Joy-Con and how it works like a mouse. But I just wanted you guys to know, those who subscribe to me for video game content, we're definitely going to post more video game content on this channel. But this is just a little quick story to let you know that if you're interested in the Nintendo Direct, that is something that's going to be coming out then. So, just so you are aware. Alright guys, there's one quick thing, one last thing I kind of want to show you guys before we end the subject of video games and we transition into comics. And it was something that I saw at on Twitter. And it was... Let me pause right there. Back up. Someone did a mod of Venom and made it where you could play Venom on the PC with Spider-Man 2. Okay? And it's awesome. Like, it is awesome. And just, I don't have to hear it. You may hear him in the video while I talk. Barely can wait to hit him with the snare in the face. Where in the face this fucking world better prepare to get laced because they're gonna taste my venom. Oh, I can't play this. I forgot they had the music. Hold on, let me. Okay, I'm turning the volume down because you don't really need to hear the music to get what I'm trying to say. You see him flying, and here's my thought. Okay, here's my thought. We have all this stuff with, you know, Marvel live service games, right? I don't need a bunch of live service games. I really don't. But I tell you what, you want me to participate in a live service game? Just give me a game called Marvel's New York. That's all I want. Give me a game called Marvel's New York and give me all the Marvel characters I love. The thing that's special about Marvel, which is a little different than DC, is that all the characters have some sort of root in New York. The X-Men have roots in New York. Fantastic Four have roots in New York. The Avengers have roots in New York. Spider-Man is New York, right? Like, all these characters, Daredevil, have roots in New York. All these characters have something special to say and to participate with inside New York City. And if they could just build... They have the sandbox. You have Insomniac, I can't ever say their name right, but the people who make Spider-Man have this sandbox available to them. And imagine flying through the air as Iron Man in this game. Imagine running around the streets as Captain America. You could even do something where you could get like a Quinjet or something and flying through the place, having all these different heroes jumping around, fighting crime with all the different bosses they've already made in the past games. Have some of those characters pop back up in the game where you have to fight different gangs and different groups of people. It would be amazing. It would be amazing. And you would have your season passes, your season events would be things where you and your friends could jump in together to try to save New York for a different reason. Like, this is happening to New York this season, but this is happening to New York next season. It would be fantastic. It would be incredible, and I hope it's something that maybe they'll consider in the future. I don't know if it's something they ever will consider, but I know they try to do the Spider-Verse thing. I don't think Spider-Verse is the answer. I don't want a live service Spider-Man game. I want a live service Marvel Universe game. And this is the way to do it. Not Marvel's Avengers and the way they did it. There's things that Marvel Avengers could have done that could have been better. You know, making it more like a Remnant 2 game, for example, or like a Dark Souls game, I think would have been a good idea for the Avengers game. But this right here, just you have the sandbox. Just put all the characters in it. That's all I want. That's all I want. Please, give it to me. Please, 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 please. But, anyway, guys. That will do it for the video games, guys. That will do it for the video games. And now, if I can get my mouse to work, okay, we are going to transition into a couple of comic stories, and then we're probably going to call it a night. And the very first thing I want to talk about is just the fact that it is Comic Book Day. And guys, if you haven't, went to the comic book store, your local comic book store, or you haven't checked to see if there was anything good to read, I definitely encourage you guys to check it out because it is Comic Book Day. And I'm very curious to hear your comments down below. What are you guys reading? What are y'all into? Are you reading anything new? Are you comic people in general? Do you read manga or other things instead? Let me know down in the comments below what you guys are reading. But Marvel's got some cool stuff. DC's got some cool stuff. For me, there's this number one that's kind of interesting called Power Man Timeless. It deals with Luke Cage. I'm very possibly interested in what that is about because I don't totally know what it's about. The Ultimates I'm behind on, but I definitely do want to check out. But there's a lot of other stories in Marvel. I would definitely encourage you guys to check them out. Here's the different ones that are out. I think from like here onward up, I think is where the new comics are. And DC's got some cool stuff. I'm definitely going to be checking out JSA, and I'm definitely going to be checking out Absolute Superman. Everything else will come in time, but those are the ones I would definitely check out. Batgirl I enjoyed, but I'm behind on it, so I got to read like maybe 2 issues. Yeah, 2 issues. 3 and 4, I think is all I got to read to catch up with that. The Atom Project I'll get to when I can. But guys, there's some really cool things here and some cool trades. You got Batman and Robin by Peter J. Tomasi. You have Absolute Power. All the things dealing with Absolute Power is out. It seems this week. It dropped today. So you can probably look at your local Barnes & Noble, your comic book store, or Amazon. You could probably find those trades if that was something you were a fan of and that you are excited about. There's tons of stuff on Image, Boom, all these different things. You got Rippaverse coming out. They have 2 campaigns going on right now at Rippaverse. They have the Great War of Separation, and they have Yaira 2. So if you're into alternative stories, not just DC and Marvel, you got your Image, you got your Boom, you got your Rippaverse. You can check those things out if you want to. There's a whole bunch of other ones. I'm not going to get all down into that. That's a lot of stuff that we would have to break down. But if you're interested in supporting someone who's doing their own type of crowdfunding, someone that I think is a little bit more reliable to make sure that they have their stuff coming out on time is a guy named Gabe El-Taib. He is the founder of Big Man Comics, and he has worked out a situation with Dean Cain. And Dean Cain and him have basically made this comic book together. There's a lot more people involved than just that. But it's something that I would encourage you guys to check out. And it's literally starring Dean Cain. The character is Dean Cain, all-American lawman. And so if that's something, it's a 116-page graphic novel. And if that interests you, I definitely encourage you to check it out. He is the founder of this book right here, Truth, Justice, and American Way. And this was a fun story. I'm not going to act like the writing in it was just like the best thing in the world, but it was a lot of fun. It was definitely what it needed to be. I don't know who's writing. I don't know if Gabe El-Taib is the full writer. I think Dean Cain is also helping him write this story. But guys, the art is really fun and really, really, really good. And that's the big thing that I would call out when it comes to this story, is that his art is really phenomenal. And he used to be the colorist for the Superman, and he's done a bunch of stuff at DC. But anyway, that's just a little bit of art from this comic. And I'm sure it'll be a little bit different. It'll be a little bit different from this Dean Cain book. But I just wanted to show you that just in case you were interested. It is there available for you. So anyway, no matter what, if you're interested in some indie stuff, if you're interested in the stuff from Marvel and DC, if you're interested in Rippaverse, I just wanted to let you guys know that those things are available for you if you're interested in purchasing them. So let's talk about these 2 Marvel stories, and then we're going to call it a night. We're going to call it a day. And the first story we really want to talk about is Marvel's X-Men shouldn't be pigeonholed as minorities by us or them, says veteran writer Chris Claremont. And Chris Claremont was at an event, and someone asked him a question, and he got into this conversation about should the X-Men see themselves as minorities. And I thought what he said was really, really, really interesting. And I just want to read the article real quick and just give my thoughts on it afterwards. Let me get a drink of water real quick. And before I read, this is from thepopverse.com. It's not easy being a mutant in the Marvel Universe. While superheroes like Captain America and Thor are celebrated and adored, the public has made mutants heroes like Cyclops and Nightcrawler into pariahs. Since their debut in 1963, the X-Men have been persecuted by society. Multiple storylines involve the team being hunted and imprisoned by government officials. Readers and scholars have compared the mutant experience to the civil rights movement, noting that the X-Men face the same type of persecution as minorities. However, longtime X-Men writer Chris Claremont says it's more nuanced than that. In fact, he doesn't agree with the X-Men being labeled as minorities. During a panel at CCXP 2024, the legendary X-Men writer spoke about the relationships mutants have with society. The challenge is to see themselves at the school as minorities. That's Charlie's job. That's Magneto's job. From my perception, what they are is a half a dozen, maybe a dozen kids, young people living together, but looking on themselves as ordinary people. They have abilities, yeah. Leonard Bernstein had abilities. From their perspective, it's not much different. He composed and played brilliant music. They saved the world, A and B. The key is to think of them as people, not as heroes. Not, yes, I am a minority. No, you're a person who's trying to live a normal life. Other people may see you as a minority. You may react to them as a minority. You may look at yourself objectively as a minority. But as a person, you're a person. Nightcrawler is the most dynamic non-human physicality in the team, but his attitude is, I'm the person God made. Who am I to argue with God? I'm just going to live my life like a normal guy and see what happens next. Yes, he used to hide the way he looked because he's not stupid. Blue skin, 2 fingers, 2 toes, and a tail definitely make you stand out from the crowd. It took Logan to challenge him to take off the mask and be a normal person, and see if anybody else notices to get him to do it. But other than that, he's just trying to live a normal, cool life as someone who loves acting, who is a theater performer, and who is a stuntman. That is the way you should look at these characters. Not as characters, not as objective concepts, but as ordinary, normal, real cool people. The rest of it falls into place. But you can look around this room at the people around this table. Oh, look, that's an X person. How do you know? Well, it looks sort of like Colossus. How do you know? Well, doesn't he? It may be Peter Rasputin, but who knows? You just see him as a person, not as Colossus. And then they kind of talk about, what are your thoughts? And they kind of end it off. And maybe people found this controversial, but I think this, there's always a line, and of course, people say that comics have always been political, or this has always been political. And they try to push the idea it's always been political in the way that they view things. And that's not true. There may be politics in everything. When you read Batman written by Chuck Dixon, there might be a little bit of politics in there deep down, but Chuck Dixon always made sure the story was first. And you would ask yourself, how do you make sure the story's first when it comes to X-Men? Well, I think Chris Claremont just gave us the antidote for that. And I'm someone who's loved X-Men, okay? Growing up, Marvel to me was X-Men. That's what Marvel was to me. You would have your other books, your Captain Americas, your other stories, your Daredevils, but Marvel to me was X-Men. That's what I cared about. Whereas in DC, I was a Teen Titans fan, I was a Nightwing fan growing up, and I still am. But even though I've really come to love Batman stories where Superman and them are together, like World's Finest stories, I really, really love those kind of stories. But Marvel to me growing up was always X-Men, and that's really what my heart, when it came to Marvel, was X-Men. And X-Men has really gone away from people like me. They don't really write stories for me as much. But a lot of their stories have been overly pushy with certain subject matter. And the question is, if it's still there, how do you make sure the story comes first over some of those things? And I think a good way to do that, a good way to make sure you're not being too preachy, because that's really what it comes down to. Are you being too preachy? I think a good way to go about that is doing exactly what Chris Claremont said. Making sure that you're still writing these people as people. And yeah, there may be consequences to some of their actions. It may be consequences just because of who they are as mutants. There may be consequences to the story for those reasons. But we're still talking about human beings who have normal interests and normal lives, and treating them as normal people without having these diatribe monologues or acting as they're a victim for being mutants, I think is probably the approach that a lot of comic creators should go the direction of, and storytellers in general should go the direction of. And I think that Chris Claremont made some really, really good points. But what about you? If you've been watching this long, do you feel like Chris Claremont said something interesting? Do you disagree with what he said? Let me know in the comments down below. And lastly, this is going to be a little more controversial too. It's just something I kind of wanted to talk about and asking a question of. But it deals a little bit with politics, a little bit. But it really deals with storytelling and how money is being used to push certain things, and specifically dealing with comic books, okay? Specifically dealing with comic books, okay? And supposedly, if you don't know what's going on politically, there's a thing called DOGE, which is the Department of Government Efficiency. And it is a new thing that's happened. You know, it honestly almost doesn't matter if it's government approved or not, because all they're doing is researching and looking through things. And as long as they have approval from the president, there's not much you can do to stop that. And then it comes down to Congress or senators or the president to decide if, you know, certain things need to be stopped from what they're finding. And they're finding a lot of silly things, right? A lot of silly things. Well, one of the silly things they found was that the U.S. government funded a comic book for Peru, in Peru, to push trans ideology. And it said it's learned from President Trump's new DEI policies have impacted the comic book community. According to House Foreign Affairs Chairman Brian Mass, he is a Republican in Florida, under President Biden's administration, Biden DEI policies were funding a trans comic book in Peru. The news came about along with it learned that Biden administration planned to send $15 million, guys, $15 million worth of condoms to Gaza. Why? Anyway, that's all canceled now that Trump has returned to the White House. And I don't want to get too political, but I just want to get to this next part. Let's see, he said, let's see. And this is quoting Mass, okay? He said, let's see, there was this transgender comic book. We're trying to get our hands on the actual comic book in Peru. And I heard it's reasonably risque. Which, if it's anything like genderqueer or some of these other books, it would be probably super inappropriate. If it's anything like that. Because like, genderqueer, they were trying to give to kids, and it was super inappropriate. Super inappropriate, like pornography level inappropriate. According to the Daily Mail, who looked over federal documents, the trans comic book from Peru received $32,000 under the former Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, who served under Biden. $32,000, guys. They received $32,000 to make this comic book. And it's just like, and we don't know what else, you know, as far as the government goes. But like, has Marvel and DC received money like that to push certain ideology or push certain things? I'm kind of curious, you know, I don't know what this year will reveal when it comes to that type of stuff. But I just want some good storytelling, you know? I just want some good stories to be told. And I don't want political messaging getting shoved into everything, especially if it wasn't with the author's true intention, right? Like, Ultimates is a highly political book, and I am excited to sit down and really read through it. But the author himself is a highly political person, right? So it's something that he purposely feels in his heart of hearts, that the story he wants to tell. And even though maybe there's moments I may find annoying when I read it, or I may love it, I don't know, at least he's willing to do it. He's doing it with his own, reasoning and his own, point of view, right? No one's paying him specific money to push that ideology. At least I do not believe that. I don't believe that's the case. But how many writers and how many people have been pushed to tell certain stories or to push certain things because the government paid them to, or someone else outside of their company paid them to push some of this stuff? It's just kind of weird, and it's just a silly thing, leaving out the politics, trying to leave some of the politics out of it. It's a silly thing to really push and to do. And it's like, what if they could have just gave that money, for like patriotism, for example? I don't know. But anyway, that's just a weird story I thought I would share with you guys. I just thought it was kind of interesting. And, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about it. What money would you have liked to see that money be used to make a different comic book? What comic book would you like to see the government sponsor for $32,000? Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on that. And guys, I don't think I have this saved, but it does seem, let me look this up real quick, and this will end off with this story right here. DC All In. Okay. This will be the last story we'll talk about, and we will end tonight's show of Embrace Nerd. And I'm really glad y'all stayed around this long. But coming from DC, DC has announced a DC's Absolute All-In Universe panel for Megacon Orlando, which will be held February 8th, 2025. And I think there's something interesting going on with DC right now. Yeah, they're going to be continued to do some of these other Comic-Cons, but I really see Megacon really blowing up. Megacon just seems to really be getting bigger and bigger. And I kind of wonder if Megacon's slowly going to start to become like the next big Comic-Con that we always hear about. You got your New York Comic-Con, you have your San Diego Comic-Con, and I kind of feel like this is going to be the next big one. But I just want those to know who are interested. We may be hearing a lot of interesting stuff this weekend about DC Comics, specifically with, the Absolute Universe and All In Universe, because you're going to have a lot of big-time writers and artists that are going to be on this panel talking about DC stories and giving some DC announcements. So I just thought that would be really cool to share with you. It would be just kind of a fun thing to kind of end off this crazy show that we've been on. But anyway, guys, I was just going to leave that there. But as we go off, guys, just leave off with this. I really appreciate you guys, especially those who watched this long. I really do appreciate you. Tell me what you think about the show, and tell me the things that your criticism, things we could do better. But guys, let me know any of your thoughts in the comments about anything we talked about. And as we sign off, guys, whatever you're doing, wherever you're going, I hope you're having a good one. Peace, guys. Have a good one. Bye.